Good evening and welcome to the latest edition of Shooting Straight with me, Voice of the Forge. Now, as I have made mention of several times in my previous videos, we are a collective of gamers that came together because we felt there was no outlet for the gamers that we had. Now, before we do anything else, I will again mention this purely to establish that we are neuroatypical. Most of us, as in 90% plus, have some kind of social anxiety or social problem, which means that large groups tend to, for want of a better word, intimidate us to the point where we have panic attacks. Now, we have been going now for just over, well, I say just over 3 years, it's coming up to 3.5, and for the last 2 years I was involved in some way at the fringes, if you look at my earlier videos, with regards to the hashtag Gamergate. Now, what I want to say today, with this preamble out of the way, is that one of the mainstays of our gaming group has always been Magic the Gathering. I am someone in the UK that has been playing ever since I knew about it, and I have to admit I must have started around about 94. That's 1994. Or thereabouts. I know this because I was at sixth form when I started playing this game, and I left sixth form in 95, and I have dipped my toes in and out of the water ever since. It has seen me through 2 careers, it has seen me through multiple jobs, and it has seen me through several friendships. Now, at the moment, we cater as a group, as an enabling group, to people with all kinds of issues, and whilst some of them move freely between some of the other companies that have games going on, we have found that we ultimately have catered to a group of people that hadn't had a home anywhere else. And this isn't because of any particular problems with any one group, apart from one group in particular, who have been very insular and very Neanderthal around a cave, but that was something that their dynamic wanted. It's pretty much like we're open to everybody who wants to come along, and if they come along, and they come along every now and then because it's not their regular play group, but they come in because we're new people and they try out what we do. They don't necessarily identify with the group, but they want to come along and play games. They want to share in our shared experience, which is what we try to provide, and that is what the game is. It is a shared experience. Now, I've just seen a video by Boogie, was it 2988, on his gaming channel, where he's talked about the divisiveness that is starting to creep into Magic, and he's likened it to Gamergate. The problem is, I've seen this division in microcosm in the UK, and it has existed for longer than the 3.5 years that the group that I run has existed. You either adapt to the group that you play with, or you don't play. So someone who has a health condition where they get very nervous around strangers can't walk into 2 of the biggest clubs in the area because it's just too overwhelming for them. No one has been prepared to take them aside and say, right, I'll introduce you to one person, get to know them, play a few games, that's 1 week, and then we'll introduce you to another person. And then they've built up a network of the people that approach the club that we run, and then they could integrate because they've met everybody beforehand, and we know that's not necessarily possible when you are providing a game experience for a wide range of people. But at the end of the day, we have enabled them to be included into the demographic mix which Wizards of the Coast cater to, and the most important thing is love of the game. Now, again, there's one group we've had bad experiences with, but it is only one group, and I have travelled and played in tournaments and events in Manchester with Funboy 3 or whatever the name is of the company, and I've gone to Nottingham where I played it with other people there. I used to be a regular when I was in the capital at the South Bank University when they used to hold their gaming nights on a Tuesday night, and I wasn't working. So I have played in a variety of areas, and I've met a big range of people, and this means that from every walk of life, doesn't matter whether they're pink, blue, black, polka dot or whatever, if they were card floppers, they were my people, and I would defend them to the utmost. Now apparently there has been someone that has been edgelording, which is shitlording and all the rest of it, which is new terminology, hasn't been around that long. Basically someone who's just got a bit of an abrasive opinion, or people don't like the opinion. And I say politics and everything else is personal preference. Personally, I don't like people that try to mind game in games, where they're constantly shuffling cards, constantly making distraction movements, or they're constantly shit talking to try and throw you off your game. Some people do it, I tune it out. Likewise, the politics that I have and the politics of some of the people in the Forgotten Forge gaming project are completely different. But we can talk about them in a way in which we have a beneficial and mutual discussion. And the way in which this has been achieved is by saying, be respectful. Now, there are some people that will fly off their high horse the moment they think an insult has been committed, and there are other people that will be quite laid back and, yeah, you may have made a mistake, you may have misgendered me, but that's okay because you've either known me before, or you've only just met me and you've only just found out, or you're trying to do something and you've not meant it, but it's slipped out. And then there are other people that go out of their way to be arseholes. Now, this is the thing. Everybody at some point has the potential to be a complete dick, and we do not stand for that. But at the same time, understanding that people may have issues and they may not have meant to be a dick, it's just the fact that there's been a misunderstanding. We had a big case between a male and a female where they were constantly setting each other off because, for one reason or another, there was just something there which kept sparking arguments. And after about 6 months, and other things happened, one of them went away, moved away for a while, and when he came back he was a completely different person. And it was, I think personally, it was a little bit of immaturity that had been knocked off in the intervening time, and when he came back he was a little bit more obliging and didn't feel that he had to ramrod his opinions down everyone's throat. And because he'd changed that little bit, it made him a much nicer person to be around. Now, with that, the girl that always had the problem with him is now engaged to him. So these things can be worked out, and they can work. But the thing is, it's all about being respectful. We have only ever had one rule at our club, and that is, to quote Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. And if you take that as your starting point, and that is the only rule that the club has, all of a sudden a lot of the drama and a lot of the shit that you see being flung in some areas vanishes, because right from the word go you said, we've got one rule, nice and simple, this is it, bang, end of. Play the game, enjoy it, love the game, bring your passion, bring who you are to the table. But at the end of the day, we are creating shared experiences for everybody, not just for you. And it has worked like a charm. Now, sometimes some of the people go to other clubs and everything else, and we have helped move some people into some of the more mainstream clubs. But because we run on a different night, they're still able to come to us. And this, again, has been part of our inclusiveness, and this is part of what we're still working on with the inclusivity, and this is what we're trying to work on. So seeing that there is this divide in the Magic community is somewhat disturbing, because it is now starting to become recognised that there has always been this cadre of individuals which, if they find each other, they form their own little niche and they self-reinforce. And at times they can be dicks. There's no two ways about it. And at times they'll be perfectly decent people. And it's like that one guy that you know, that get him on his own and he's perfectly fine. Get him with two of his mates and he's an absolute twat. This is the way some things go. Now, I have no axe to grind in this. If you look at my channel, I have got videos covering all sorts of games. We've got My Little Pony unboxing, Pokemon unboxing. We haven't done a lot of them because we don't have a lot of capital, and everything that we do is either purchased by a member or by, more often, myself. And we are trying to change this. And what we're looking and I understand that working in a corporate environment, you have to be careful how you bring things across, otherwise you won't get sponsorships. We've seen this with YouTube deselecting demonetizing videos and deselecting them for the AdSense program because of controversial keywords, even if it's not controversial opinions within the video. And likewise, as Boogie pointed out, he's someone that he works with who has sponsored unboxings in the past, that politically he's saying, I don't agree with necessarily what you're saying, but that doesn't mean I will distance myself from you as someone that I do business with. It just means that further on down the line there may have to be a decision whether or not we can continue working together with business. And just as like Boogie has said about Wizards and the fact that the new set is coming out, call me for the unboxings, well, my number's available as well. I haven't been one of these people that's hidden anonymously. I have gone out of my way to turn around and say, look, some people are dicks, some people aren't, some people may be dicks some of the time, and that covers the vast majority of humanity. And then you've got the very small subsect of people that are dicks all the time. And all I really wanted to say on this was really like a reply to Boogie in more ways than one, was the Magic community has always been divided, but it's been divided into the little pods which everyone has drawn themselves into, usually in social circles. So there hasn't been this need in the early stages of the game for there to be this overarching principle of inclusion, because usually it's been one group finding another group working with a third group, and they've all come together for the love of the game. And I think if we're starting to see this kind of politics being engendered into the Magic community, then I think that something has to be looked at within the game itself, because they're taking away from that experience, and it's and it means that somehow they're not engaged as fully with the experience. That passion for the game, for the cards, is going somewhere else, and that has to be looked at. Because I tell you now, if I'm absolutely in love with a game, I will brag till the knees come home until I've told everybody about it 30 or 40 times, and then ever meet somebody new, he says, oh, have you heard of this, have you heard of that? Stardew Valley was one of them, if you look at the gameplay videos. Anyway, I want to keep this under 15 minutes because I tend to talk for a long time when I get going. So all I want to say is the Magic community has always been diverse, and that has been part of its strength, but it's also been part of its weakness, because the diversity that it's had in the past isn't the same as it is now. We are getting bigger and bigger and bigger groups of people coming together, and the more people you get, the more people you get together in one place, the more you then tend to find that there are flashpoints with one or two individuals. Now, obviously, in a city the size that I live in, of only 100,000 people, the fact that I've got a club with 50 members, most of which turn up 15 at a time, and there's 2 other gaming societies, clubs and all the rest of it in the city, if not 3, that shows that there is a big problem if I've got that number. And I've got, well, I don't even know how big you could put it to be, but even if I have 10%, that would be 500 players, and a tenth of them have an issue with the way in which some groups work. I would say that would indicate a pretty big problem. I don't know how big the problem is. I don't know why we have what we have here. All I know is that I am working hard to express the love of a game and the love of a genre of game as well. Let's not forget there's more than one card game here. I don't have any ties to anybody. And if we have these kind of divisions, then I know most people will just switch to another game because it's less hassle. They'll still love the game, but they'll only play it in their homes. They'll only play it with people that they know. And that, I think, would be a problem. I think that would be a sad road to go down. So, in resolution, I do think that this needs to be looked at, and looked at hard. It needs to be looked at early, and it needs to be sorted out fast. Anyway, that's my time done. I am, as always, Voice of the Forge. If you like what we do, then please like and subscribe. And you can message me either through Twitter at Voice of the Forge, in the direct comments, or in the comments section below this video. Thank you very much for listening, and good night.